Water rides have been a staple of theme parks for years now, but they're also an attraction type that is slowly disappearing. We have seen countless parks remove their water attractions in favor of bigger and better steel roller coasters. And they're not really getting replaced either. Carowinds. So what's really going on here? How is a staple of the amusement park industry suddenly starting to disappear? Well, it's really interesting, so let's find out. Alright, so I want you to think about your home park. Your local amusement park that you visit the most often. What was the last water ride that they added to the dry park? Chances are, it's been a pretty long time. Unless your home park's like SeaWorld San Diego. There's a pretty good chance that it has been quite some time. For many parks, it could even be over 30 years. Now I want to ask you another question. Can you name the last time that your home park removed a water attraction? Also, chances are, it's been fairly recently, especially if your home park is Carowinds. I think there are three main reasons why this trend is happening. So let's get into reason number one. And like most things in the amusement park industry, it's going to come down to money. That's right, water attractions can be very expensive to maintain compared to your traditional roller coaster. And their return on investment could definitely be a lot lower than a major roller coaster too. Let's think about this for a second. When can a steel roller coaster operate? It can operate pretty much any time except during thunder and lightning or when it's below freezing. Now let's think about when a water attraction can operate. Well, obviously if it's not thundering or lightning, but it also has to be really warm too. I don't know about you, but I do not want to be riding a water attraction in 50 degrees. But a majority of theme parks are also open during the spring or during the fall or maybe even during a winter event. And guess what? A water ride cannot be operated during a winter event, whereas a lot of roller coasters could. Just kind of run into this problem where water rides do cost a fair amount of money to maintain, but you can only use them for about 3 solid months in the summer before you have to close them again. Compare that with adding like a Steel Family or Thrill Coaster. You can have it operate pretty much the entire summer and the fall and everything. A water ride starts to become a whole lot less appealing. You also have to think about this from a marketing perspective. Nowadays, what is likely going to draw in more crowds? Oh wow, Kings Island just built a brand new roller coaster. Let's go check it out. Or, wow, Kings Island just added a log flume. Let's go check it out. What do you think is probably going to get more people's attention? You guessed it, it's the brand new roller coaster. I'm not saying that water rides do not have a place in theme parks, because they definitely do. But since a majority of theme parks already have an existing water ride, their main goal is to get as many people in the door as possible. Nowadays, it is far more likely that an amusement park looking to add a new attraction will choose a new roller coaster over a water ride, which definitely was not the case 20-30 years ago. Alright, so if theme parks don't really want to build water rides because they're not marketable enough or whatever, why do they keep removing them? But before we get to that, if you are enjoying the video, then make sure you subscribe down below so you do not miss out on any future coaster content coming your way. Well, as I've mentioned, they're pretty expensive to maintain. And let's not forget, a lot of these water rides were built during the 70s, 80s, and 90s. And many are probably starting to show their age a little bit. And combined with being expensive to maintain, really being super marketable attractions, have made these older water rides very easy targets for theme parks to remove. But this is definitely not the only reason. So let's discuss what reason number 2 is. And that would be, there are simply more and better attractions in theme parks today than there were 20 or 30 years ago. So, as I've mentioned, most of these water rides were built fairly early on in their respective parks' history. And given that a fair amount of regional amusement parks here in North America were built in the 60s, 70s, and 80s, it's that these water rides are starting to get fairly old. Not only that, the parks in which these water rides were first built in were significantly smaller than the parks we have today. Compared to 40 years ago, the theme parks we have today are absolutely huge. We've got parks with 15, 20 roller coasters and hundreds of acres of land and separate water parks and safaris. There's so much more to do in theme parks today than there were a couple decades ago, which has really eaten into the popularity of a water attraction. I want you to picture this. You're at a theme park and you've ridden a majority of the major roller coasters there. You've got an hour or two left in your day before it starts getting dark and you want to go hit up some night rides. So what are you going to do? Would you rather go over to a safari? Would you rather go ride some flat rides? Would you rather go try out a roller coaster you haven't ridden yet? Or would you rather go ride a water ride? And chances are, unless it was very hot outside, a majority of you would have picked one of the first three options. Let's compare that to 30 years ago. Ridden all the major roller coasters and everything, so what do you want? You've got an hour or two before it gets dark, so what do you want to do? You could maybe re-ride a coaster, check out some pretty mild flat rides, or you could go ride a water ride. And especially if it's decent weather outside, chances are a lot of you would have picked the water ride. It's simply just more to do at theme parks these days. And for a lot of people, unless it is very hot outside, they're likely going to skip riding the water ride. Coupled with higher maintenance costs and lower capacity and everything, as I've said, it's just made these water rides easier targets for theme parks to remove. Okay, so water rides are more expensive to maintain and maybe they're not as popular as they used to be. But why else would theme parks be removing them at such a fast pace and just simply not replacing them? So what's the final reason then? Well, it's all going to come down to the rise of the water park. That's right, water parks are one of the main reasons that water rides in dry parks are slowly disappearing. So why would a theme park want to invest in a water park instead of putting a water attraction in their dry park? Well, I think there are a couple reasons for that. For one, if you're putting a water attraction in a water park, you are far more likely to get a better return on investment compared to adding a water ride to the dry park. Parks definitely want to make their water parks very, very appealing. Because if you have a good water park in addition to having a good theme park, that means you can charge a whole lot of money. Once you increase main ticket prices if you don't want to make it an upcharge, or you could be like Dollywood for example, and make your water park a separate upcharge attraction. And let me tell you, you can make a ton of money from that. And a water ride in a water park is going to perform better and be more popular than a water ride in a dry park. For example, like, would you rather be wet during your day in the dry park, just visiting a theme park on a normal day? Or would you rather be wet while you're in a water park, where the whole point is to pretty much get wet? I mean, again, as I've said, water rides definitely have a place in a dry park to provide a nice, easy way to cool off without having to go to the water park. But then again, do I really want to be wet walking around the dry park? I don't really know. And I mean, pretty much every regional amusement park these days has some sort of water park connected with it. Like, there are very few parks, like regional amusement parks today, that do not have their own dedicated water park. Yeah, sure, some theme parks definitely do not have their own water park. Like, that does still happen. And for them, maybe it makes more sense to invest in a water ride in the dry park. But with so many regional amusement parks already having a water park, and probably likely getting a better return on investment investing in that water park instead of putting a water ride in the dry park, I mean, it simply makes more sense from a financial standpoint. Look, I get it. It kind of stinks. I mean, Carowinds went from having 4 water rides in their dry park to having none in like the span of 5 to 10 years. I mean, yes, they have a water park and everything, but then you have to go over there, you gotta like change clothes and get into a bathing suit and everything, and it's a lot harder. It makes a water ride a lot less accessible during your day at a theme park. Like, you have to make a point to go over to the water park too. Whereas if there was just a water ride in the dry park, you could just go hop in line and get wet that way. So what does the future of water rides at theme parks actually look like? And is this trend of removing and not replacing these water rides going to continue? Well, I think this trend will definitely continue for a couple more years at least. I just think with the current state of theme parks and the economy and everything in general right now, mentioned in previous videos, theme parks are trying to maximize return on investment any way possible. And that's partly why they're building so many family coasters right now. Save as much money, but still get a good return on investment. So I think, honestly, as long as theme parks are trying to save as much money as possible, like, for example, like Six Flags right now is cutting costs any way possible and really trying to get out of debt, I think as long as that situation continues, we're probably going to see the same trend keep happening. Once that eventually ends, maybe, just maybe, we might see the water ride make a comeback, which would be pretty awesome. I do hope eventually that theme parks do realize that these water rides are an important part of the theme park experience. Even if they may cost a little more to maintain, I think they definitely could be worth it in the long run. But as always, we're just going to have to wait and see. And if you do want to stay up to date on all the latest theme park news, rumors, etc., then make sure to subscribe down below. And speaking of amusement parks, did you know that Six Flags revealed every single roller coaster they were going to be building in 2026? That's right, Six Flags literally told us every single roller coaster they will be adding for the 2026 season. This is honestly crazy and literally never happens. There's a ton of really cool information on this, so if you do want to check that out, click on the video on your screen right now. Anyway, thank you guys for watching, have a great rest of your day, enjoy the Super Bowl, and I'll see you all in the next one.